What's up, guys? Coach T here with Coach T's Philosophies, and today I'm going to do a preview / prediction about tonight's Verbo Fiesta Bowl featuring the Miami Hurricanes and the Ole Miss Rebels. Okay, it's going to be a good one. I'm excited to see how the line play is between Miami's defensive line, Ruben Bain and those guys, and I'm curious to see how Charlie Weiss Jr., the OC at Ole Miss, how he's going to get Trinidad Chambliss on the move. If you remember the Georgia game, I said this to my brother before that game, earlier that day. I said, the only way Ole Miss beats Georgia is if Chambliss gets to run around and play backyard football. And he did just that. He had, there's 4 or 5 just miraculous, schoolyard plays that he makes, and those are the difference in the game. I mean, Ole Miss had to kick a game-winning field goal at the end. It took all those crazy plays just to still have to kick a game winner. So I'm saying that was the only way Ole Miss was going to win, is if Chambliss got to run around and be a freak, and he was, and he balled out. So I'm curious to see how his mobility and how the scheming with Charlie Weiss Jr. reacts to Bain and the defensive line and all that, because that's going to be a big battle, and it's going to be the telltale sign, I think, for who wins the game. Now, Pete Golding, he has something completely different to deal with. On his side, the Ole Miss side, you can't tell me there's not something to Charlie Weiss Jr. and some of these coaches playing 2 roles. Some of them have already signed and they're going on to LSU, and they're still coaching at Ole Miss throughout the rest of the playoff, but they're still having to do their job at LSU. It's really confusing because they went over there with Lane Kiffin. So how are you giving your full attention to your playoff team when you also have another job you're prepping for, new recruits, new players you're meeting, all that? So you can't tell me there's not something in there. And a lot of programs are dealing with it. Oregon's dealing with it, but Indiana's not, and Miami's really not. So that could be a sign, too, where maybe they're just not, maybe they're 85% prepped instead of 100% prepped just because of the duality of the jobs with LSU and Ole Miss and the time constraints. Maybe the coaches, they're trying to give their all, but they just can't because there's only so much time and energy. So that could be a big thing. I mean, also, I kind of feel like Ole Miss played their Super Bowl. This might sound weird, but I think them beating Georgia was their Super Bowl. And I think revving that engine up again and having to prove the world wrong again and again, eventually you run out of gas and you can't rev the engine up anymore. I think it ends tonight. I do. I think Miami finds a way to win. I think Carson Beck plays well. I think he's protected. And what I want to see is if Tony and some of those other receivers from Miami, if they can really get going where they get their yards after catch and they get in the open space, that could really blow the game open, I feel. Because I think the defensive line is going to win up front for Miami. I think it's going to keep Trinidad Chambliss playing a good game but not a great game, and I think he needs an absolute great game to win tonight. I could be wrong. I just feel like Miami is building and coming off of that big win against Ohio State. I just think they have the swag, the mojo, kind of the momentum. And I think with Ole Miss, I think this is just where they run out of gas. I think Chambliss is able to make good plays. He's able to make quite a few plays, just not enough plays to pull off, put the Superman cape on and do it again like he did against Georgia. So with that being said, I'm taking Miami 31-24 over Ole Miss, advancing to the national championship. I think Carson Beck throws for a couple touchdowns. I think Miami's able to run the ball enough to where they can open up the offense a little bit, and I just think that defensive line is going to get after Chambliss, and I think we could have a strip sack, or there could be one key play that maybe is a 14-point swing, and that's the ultimate, controlling point in the game. So I see Ole Miss fighting. I just don't see them finishing. So I think Miami gets it done, 31-24. Book it here. Coach T said it, but what do I know?